I'm Melody Rackley. I'm a realtor in the San Antonio area.
I'm Crystal Villanueva with Pilgrim Mortgage, and our team services the whole state of Texas. And we are here to guide you with a new program that is called the HIP 120. It's a down payment assistance program here exclusive for San Antonio residents.
Yes, so that's a big deal. The reason we're doing this video is because there are several down payment assistance programs. This one, though, has had some recent changes, and it's a really good option for some citizens in the area. So first off, tell me, why is the program so great? Why does this one stand out beyond all the other options?
The beauty about this program is that this will allow our customer to come into the transaction and literally pay no money out of pocket for down payment or closing cost.
Okay.
We're in a huge seller's market. So that being said, there's always many people that that want the seller to pay closing costs. So this is a program that we can grant up to $1,000 to $15,000 to cover the full down payment and the closing costs, so that they can get into that house with no money out of pocket, other than the $500 initial investment that's needed for this program.
Okay, so that is a huge deal. Multiple offer situation is what I've seen the last couple of years in the summers, and typically my clients don't have the money to put down. Then I ask for the seller to pay for that. So she's saying that with this program, it covers the down payment and the closing costs, and most of the programs don't cover both.
Right.
So what else about this program? How about the interest rates? How does that compare to the other down payment assistance programs?
So the great news about this program as well is that whatever the going rate for FHA, VA, or conventional, that's what the rate is with this special program. All of our other down payment assistance that we offer are rates easily in the 5% range, which, on this down payment assistance program, rates are still in the high 3s, low mid 4s.
Okay, great. So it's the same, very consistent with,
yes.
It's not an additional interest rate or higher interest rate for that. Okay. Also, you may not know, but this program is a 30-day close. So some people are worried about it taking a longer time to close on these loans, but they're finding that it's really not happening, that they're able to close in 30 days, which is a typical close time. So again, the reason that's important is because maybe you don't care when you move in, but the seller might. So it makes your offer look stronger if you say you can close within the month. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the eligibility. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, and let's run through, it's kind of a list of some items of, who qualifies. Because I know that if you're watching this video, it's going to be a lengthy one. And that way, if you're not eligible, we're doing that up front because we're nice, and you don't have to sit and watch through the rest of it.
So the main thing for eligibility, you have to be a first-time home buyer within the last 3 years. Okay, so you could have been renting for the last 3 years, had owned prior, but as long as you haven't owned any kind of residence in the last 3 years,
okay,
you're eligible for this program.
Great.
Second, you're allowed to be divorced. If you have gone through divorce, even though you were a previous homeowner through that marriage, we'll grant you'll be considered a first-time home buyer for that program.
Okay. And also, if you've been permanently displaced, and I'm not sure exactly what all the circumstances are, but I would imagine if your house burned down or something like that, you're permanently displaced to a natural disaster or something, then you would qualify as a first-time home buyer for this program,
yes,
which is a great thing.
It is. Also, and for this program, you're allowed to use this program for all VA loans, FHA, and conventional. So you're probably thinking, why would we use this on a VA loan that's 100% financing? Well, again, we're in a seller's market. There's closing costs associated with that VA loan, and this program can come in and pay all the closing costs so we can get our veteran in with no money out of pocket.
Great. Yes, again, that's for a stronger offer. On the realtor side of this, it helps me to be able to present a stronger offer for you to get that house. You do have to occupy the home and it be a homestead. So this is not for an investor, not for someone that plans on buying a home for a son or daughter or anyone else. It's got to be for you.
Right. It has to be your true homestead residence. And that being said, there's income restrictions. And the city
they're more generous on this one than
yes,
the other ones, right?
Exactly. I was going to say the city of San Antonio just raised the income limits for this program effective December of last year. So that being said, for a family of one, max income allowed is $56,000, and that used to be like in the mid $30,000 range.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's why this program is coming back as a more popular program, because the income limits are more reasonable.
Okay, and then I think that's a sliding scale up to if it's 7 people in the home, 94,000, somewhere in there. So it's a range. So a lot more people qualify for this because some of the programs, the income limits are a lot lower, and so not very many people qualify.
Right.
You have to be a U.S. resident. you have to be a citizen or a permanent resident or temporary resident with proof of work.
Yes, a work visa showing that it's been continued for the last 2 years. And that's standard on all FHA, VA, and conventional loan programs.
Okay.
No recent bankruptcies in the last Chapter 7, 5 years being discharged for this program, along with Chapter 13, 2 year being out discharged for that type of bankruptcy.
Okay. Debt income ratio requirement.
So the debt to income ratio is a little bit more conservative, stricter, 45% maximum debt to income ratio on this program. But again, we have an MCC tax credit, which is if somebody is kind of maxed out and we're over those ratios, we can implement this tax credit. You have to be a true first-time homebuyer within the last 3 years to take advantage of this incentive, but it does help for sure with that debt to income ratio.
So for that scenario, there's a little wiggle room.
There is.
Okay. You've got to have personal funds. They require a minimum of $500 earnest money that you have to put towards the contract. And typically what we see in real estate is 1% or, somewhere in that range. So you ideally are going to need 1% of your purchase price to put down, but as a minimum requirement for this program is only $500.
Which we've seen, earnest money 1%. So for instance, on a $200,000 house, 1% earnest money, but this program for sure just requires a $500 minimum investment, and we've had buyers get $1,500 back of their earnest money.
Oh, great.
So I mean, that's a win-win. Moving into a brand new home or an existing home for $200,000 with $500 max out of pocket. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. You do have to take a class to qualify for this program. You can take it online for how much?
Online is $75. It's an 8-hour online course, or you could take it in person twice a month, which the city posts their scheduled times, and that's a $25 charge.
Okay. When do you have to take that? Before you contract or anytime during the contract?
You could take it anytime after you contract, as long as we have it a week before closing.
Okay, great. And then do you have to test, or how does that work?
Nope. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is a small quiz at the end, but it's very simple.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So let's talk about the requirements for the house. What house qualifies? It has to be a single family dwelling, so a freestanding dwelling, or it can be a multi-unit, such as like a condo. So with individual owners of each property, but in a multiple unit dwelling. It has to also be in the city limits. Before, wasn't it that it was only certain sections of the city? And now it's the entire city limits. So if you're curious, just ask us and we can pull that and show you where the city limits are defined to know if the housing area you're looking at is qualifies.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's talk about the nitty gritty. This is how this loan program works. Basically, this is not in a substitute for a loan. You get your regular loan, which is why you said you've got to qualify for a conventional FHA or a VA. So you qualify for that loan. This is an additional program which adds an additional lien onto it, another loan separate to cover those closing costs and down payment.
But the good part is that this is a 0% interest, so they're not incurring any kind of interest on this type of loan. However, there are repayment or recapture period on this loan.
Okay. So it comes in two parts. This is the hard part for the numbers challenged people. This is her bread and butter, what she does every day. There's two parts, and the first part is 25%, and it's a perpetual.
Yes, loan.
Okay. So explain that.
So basically, this loan program is ideal for anyone that's going to truly live in their house for 7-10 years. You're going to have to pay the 25% of the whatever loan that you're granted. 25% of that's going to be due when you sell or refinance your property.
Okay.
If you live in the house for 10 years, that 75% of that loan is forgivable. So
that's the other part. So we've got the 25% perpetual, 75% forgivable. So talk about how does that part work?
Again, so you have to live in the house for 10 years so that it can make that 75% forgivable.
Just totally go away.
Yes,
you don't owe
totally
it.
go. Yes, and if you have to move out for any reason before that 10 years, then it's going to be a proration.
Okay.
And so, they'll take into effect how many years you've been in the house, how many years is still owed up to that 10-year period. And then, again, it's paid off with you selling or, of course, refinancing. But, again, we're in an awesome city that appreciates on an annual basis. So, hopefully, you could recoup that with all the appreciation that the houses are.
So, if you're in the house for 5 years, then half of it, it's a tenth per year that's forgiven of that 75?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're in the house for 5 years, you only have to pay half of that back, the forgivable part. And like she's saying, you know, let's assume and hope that you've stayed in your house at least for 5, 7, 10 years, and your house value has appreciated. So you bought it for this amount, and then it's now valued at this. When you go to sell, you may not get more cash back in your pocket, but you're not paying out of pocket to pay back the part that's still owed back, the 25% for sure. And then if you have any of the forgivable part that is still owed because you didn't stay in long enough.
Right.
So let's talk about like in a number. Let's give an example. So let's say the part of this program of the closing cost down payment, they borrow $6,000 for this loan.
Okay.
And so 25% of that is $1,500 for the perpetual part.
Right,
that's
is what they're
owed no matter what at the end. You don't have to make any payments in the duration, no interest, but it is due upon change of ownership.
That's correct.
Okay, so $1,500 you've got to pay later. Then you've got the 75%, so that's $4,500. And depending on how long you stay in, you may have to pay none of that. So hopefully that helps you kind of see real numbers of what we're talking about.
Yes.
And how much would actually be owed later. It's not tens of thousands of dollars, and if you stay in, you know, if you're in 10 years, you only owe the $1,500. So let's talk about who is this good for and who is this bad for? Who would benefit from this loan program?
For sure, again, a first-time home buyer within the last 3 years of not owning, this is good, ideal for somebody that's, again, going to live in the house for, 5 to 7, 10 years. If you're going to live in it for less than 5 years, then I would recommend trying to save up your own funds for your down payment. But again, this is a great program for somebody that doesn't have the money yet, or they want to save the funds that they have so that they can buy furniture or do any other house repairs. But this is ideal for sure for somebody that needs money for a down payment and closing costs because it's a grant up to $15,000.
Because interest rates are low now at the time we're doing this video, they're lower than they have been even in a year. It's a great time to buy. So if you know you're about to get a bonus for work or whatever, you've got money coming in. It's not that you've got this long-term tight on funds. This may be a good option to get you in a house now. If you know that you're going to get the funds like within less than 6 months, it might be a good idea to still wait and hold out so you don't have to go through this program. But if it's going to be a while, but you know it's going to be coming later, and you're going to have the cash in the event you had to sell and your house didn't appreciate in value, that you would have the funds to pay back, then it would be a good loan. Who is it bad for? Who's not going to be a good candidate for doing this?
Again, somebody that's going to be living in the house probably for 3 years. That they know that they're going to, they're a veteran, they're going to PCS to a, different city and state. Someone like that probably wouldn't benefit because they're going to owe those monies back.
Right.
But again, this is for somebody that's truly going to live in the house for at least 5 years minimum to 10 years.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that sums it up. I know that this one was a long one. There was a lot of details to give. Hopefully, a lot of people are going to benefit from the use of this program. It is from the city of San Antonio, so it's a really nice perk for living in San Antonio, the city we already love. So if you've got any questions, reach out and call us. Our information will be attached on the video. And of course, if you want us to do any other videos or are curious about anything else real estate related, just let us know. Thanks.
Thank you.